I'd like to talk about grieving alone in a crowd. But before we get into that, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Ghazala at the Heart and Soul Cafe. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I really do appreciate it. And if you're here for the first time, you're very, very welcome. So grieving alone while you're in a crowd. What do I mean by that? Well, when we are grieving, and those of you who have or are experiencing grief will know what I mean. That it can be very, very lonely. It can be very isolating. When you're grieving, you can feel very much as if you're stranded on a desert island, all on your own, with no one to talk to, no one who's going to get you, no one who's going to understand, no one. So if we are around a crowd of people, what do I mean then? We're not alone, are we? But the thing is, the thing to get to, what's important is, and I've talked about this before, I've talked about it in a few other videos, the importance of finding your tribe or your people is so, so important, so that you feel that you're not the only one, so you don't feel lonely. You could be around 1 million people, but if you can't relate to them, if you don't feel comfortable enough to express what you are feeling because you feel that you need to put up a front, and I talked about this in just a video, I think a couple of days ago, putting up a front, putting on a front, if you like, is that, well, you can't, that's exhausting. Putting up a front or wearing a mask or however you want to call it, being so removed from your authentic self can be really, really exhausting, tiring, draining. And we can't really do it for too long. Someone used the term, one of my clients once used the term, your social battery runs out. Yes, it does. Because it's so tiring. Trying to fit in with others, trying to please others when you're not there. You're just not being honest with yourself. You're absolutely not being honest with them, but you're not being honest with yourself either. And I know there's some times when you have to, there's times when I have to, when I'm delivering mental health, first aid training, I'm showing up in front of people to deliver content about mental health. So I need to wear a mask, if you like, because I might not be feeling quite 100% that day. I'm grieving myself, and my grief is going to, I know, stay with me for the rest of my life. I know that, but it's how I'm dealing with it, isn't it? It's all a matter of that. How am I coping with it? How am I dealing with it? How am I functioning with it? How am I carrying it along with everything else that I do? How am I doing that? Yeah. So feeling alone in a crowd is something that we don't want to be doing. Not for longer than we absolutely have to. Finding your people, finding your tribe, finding, people that you can relate to and show up and be as close to your authentic self as possible is quite important for your own mental health and well-being. And it all plays into, hidden grief. We do sometimes, I sometimes hide my grief because I'm around people that I feel aren't going to understand, or that I've been led to believe that or made to feel that way. So I'm not feeling that I'm in a safe place or a safe space where I can express what I'm feeling, and that it would be, accommodated. If you feel that you'd be not judged necessarily, but just not understood, then you're not likely to share. You're not likely to open up, what it is that you are carrying and, feeling. So, and that is tiring. That is draining for the person who's feeling what they're feeling. So what I would say to you, what my advice would be to you, if you are grieving the loss of a loved one or the loss of anything else. It doesn't have to be a loved one. It could be, coming to the end of a job, or you've come into retirement, or the end of a friendship, the end of a marriage, the loss of a pet. So, all these things can bring symptoms of grief. The loss or the end of anything can bring symptoms of grief, and you can sometimes feel alone in that, even if you are around lots and lots of people. So it's really, really important that you find even one person, even if you talk to one person who you feel, gets you, is listening to you, but not just listening, hearing you, acknowledging, validating what you're sharing, not trying to fix it, not trying to assume things about you, not comparing yourself, comparing what you're saying with somebody else, or with, it's not as bad as so-and-so, she lost, not that. It's not about comparing. It's not about, at least you, have, at least, if the sentence starts off with at least, it's not going to probably go well, because you're comparing that person's, and there's always going to be people, if we are measuring and comparing, there's always going to be someone probably worse off than you, but that doesn't take away what you are feeling. Does that mean that, we can't feel then? Because there's always going to be someone worse off. Does that mean that, our feelings aren't valid? They're not worth validation? No, it's not that at all. It's not a competition. It's not a comparing thing. Your loss, your emotions, what you are feeling, your pain is unique. It's yours. It belongs to you. But if you're sharing it with somebody, but share it with the right person who is going to validate, who is going to sit with you, who is going to allow you to have whatever that grief has taken you that day. And they're not going to say, well, you didn't say that yesterday and this day before. Well, when I saw you last week, you went, well, no, because nothing is fixed. It's forever, it's fluid. It's forever changing. It's a continuum. Grief, the stages of grief aren't linear. You can be going backwards and forwards and back again and stuck in a rut there, and that's okay. Who's timing it? Who's saying how long, you should be, shouldn't you be over it by now? Those sort of things aren't going to help. So yes, we can feel very much, those of us who are grieving can feel very much that we are grieving alone, even when we are in a crowd. Yes. But I think if we're more open to things and more ready to have a conversation about topics that are uncomfortable, and they are uncomfortable, aren't they? Talking about death, dying, loss, grief, bereavement isn't a comfortable conversation, is it? But it's something that's probably going to hit most of us in our lifetimes. So why not have that conversation? Why not, be equipped with certain tools before something may happen even? And that's not me saying let's be all morbid and talk about death and dying, 24/7. That's not what I'm saying. It's just being aware of that, yes, death is a part of our existence. We are all, if we're not sure about anything else in the future, we are sure about that our life does come to an end. Yeah, we are all sure about that. Absolutely. So my advice is to reach out, to look. If you're around people that don't get you, then look elsewhere. There's charities out there. There's lots of charities in the UK. Shout, Mind. There's Bereavement UK. There's all sorts of charities that we can look up and we can reach out to and say, I think I need some help here. I don't think I can go through this on my own. And counselling as well. So it might not just be a friend who's listening. It might be that you need some professional help. And again, that's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of, I think it's a sign of strength, because it takes courage to do that, to say, look, I think I need some help. And the other thing is that, it shows that you are, putting some importance on your own mental health and your well-being, and and it shows strength in itself. Absolutely does, because you can't look after others around you unless you are in a good place yourself. You can't pour out of an empty jug. If I wasn't going to look after my own mental health and address my grief, how would I be able to, be a bereavement counsellor and support women who have also experienced child loss? How would I do that? I wouldn't be very good if I wasn't looking after myself. So I need to do that. So you can use that analogy about the aeroplane in turbulence and the gas mask coming down. What do you do? Do you put the gas mask over your own mouth first, or put it over the mouth of the child sitting next to you? You're not going to be any help to anybody if you've passed out in the aisle. So you do need to look after yourself first, so that you can then help others and be a help to others. Okay. So I hope you found the content of this video helpful. Please do share. Please do comment. Please do like and subscribe. We do need lots of subscribers, but thank you to those of you who have subscribed. I absolutely do appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for watching this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, look after your hearts and souls. Thank you.